Hi there, so this is assignment number 4 for keeping up with the JavaScript course. So let's say in one of our programs we want to classify a bunch of items into two groups called men and object. And men is something that is belong to the model category. So we can say that every man is model. And let's say we want to write a function or a routine to which if we provide a name, it tells us whether it belongs to the model category or not. So it returns a true or falsy value. So to write that function, I am defining a constant called classification, which is used to uh, differentiate a bunch of items that I'm defining below this. This is an array of items, and each object has a name property, and it classifies the item into either a men or an object category by giving it a classification property. So below that, I'm defining the actual function that can be provided in name property, and it searches through the array of items by looping through it and checking if the classification property uh, equals to the men category, and if it finds it to be true, it returns a true the value, otherwise it returns false. So if I just run this function, invokes this function and provide it with let's say I'm going to call this model and provide it with, let's say, computer value, which isn't belong to the model category, it should return false, which it does. And if I just call it with Socrates, which does belong to the men category, it should return true. And I've also made sure that if I call it with something that is not a valid string type, it returns an undefined. So if I call this function with an integer value, it would return us an undefined value, as you can see here. And let's say if I call the function with an item name that isn't defined in the array, let's say I call it with a chair, so it returns us a null value, which we can then use in our program to decide and do something else with it. So hopefully this clearly explains the function that I'm trying to write here. Let me just comment this out and go to the second part of the assignment. So the second part of this assignment is about writing a function that takes two arguments, cakes, and whether the user wants to select a chocolate flavor or not, and then the function should return the actual flavor of the cake if it finds in the provided array of cakes. So let me first try and uncomment this block of code so I could invoke the function call here. So I'm writing this function, and then what it's doing is it is looping through the provided array of cakes using the for each statement and checking if each cake object has the flavor um, of chocolate or not, and based on the second argument that we provided, and it uh, sets the flavor of the cake that to the variable that we have defined at the start of the function call. So before invoking the function, I'm defining an array of cake objects that has three properties called name, flavor, and decoration. And finally, I'm invoking the function using the cakes object and setting is chocolate property to false. And when I run this function, it finds the vanilla, since I call the function with by selecting the chocolate to be false. So hopefully this assignment gets the passing result. Thanks for reviewing.